Ahoy, mateys! Don't abandon ship. We're ready to sail into another episode of MB2 Underground. My name is Sarah Kiefer.
And I'm Joe Fox. That was a good one.
Thank you. Well, I did it specifically because of the fun fact about our guest today.
Yeah, it's a pretty damn fun fact. I can't wait to talk about that.
You just said a curse word on our
I know, but
podcast.
not as bad as yours.
That's true.
You have put us in the PG-13 category. So just following your lead. So what's happening? How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
Yeah? Feeling a little pep in our step?
Yes, or as Pat called it ahead of time, the caffeine wormhole. But you know what? I'm here.
Hey, no
I'm
judgment.
ready.
There's no judgment zone.
Ready to party?
I mean, I am drinking my herbal mint tea, but not a Celsius. But
Nerd.
yeah. Well, we've got another great guest. This person is at the forefront of the value add that groups can bring to dentistry. So it's really cool. There's a lot of fun things
For sure.
to talk about, a lot of awesome things to learn, and really truly like in terms of like a dentist thinking through what groups can do for their practice and what groups can do for their business in the short term and long term. Like this person is making like meaningful, really profound change. So,
and we've seen a lot of progress really quickly, which I think is really cool too.
Crazy quickly. And I think there's like some other things in the works that I'm excited to ask about and talk about. So, this person also has some pretty interesting nicknames, some new ones we'll talk about here in a bit that I think you're going to be interested to hear about. But anyway, so without further ado, my absolute favorite human from the Sunshine State.
Which state is that?
Come on. How do you not know that?
Okay.
Well, there's only, take a shot.
You didn't know who DJ Khaled was. I don't want to hear it.
Florida, the great state of Florida. The MB2 Chief Revenue Officer, Mr. Clint Ellenberg. How are you, friend?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. Thanks for coming.
Welcome. Is your full name Clinton?
Yes.
Okay.
That's a great question.
Thank you. Well, thank you for coming, Clinton. How's your day going?
It's not a rock star name, is it?
I love it.
It's an awesome name. Why'd you shorten it?
It never. I don't even know why my parents bothered with putting that last syllable on there. It's a waste of time.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Efficiency at its finest.
Yeah.
So what was it like going through the Clinton presidency? I mean, was that like weird?
It was kind of the worst of the jokes. It's just, I heard it again. But it was
good one.
Yeah, good one. Yeah, but at least it got people off Clint Eastwood for a while.
Ooh.
That's not a bad one.
Like Clint Eastwood?
She'd been like, yeah.
It's not bad, except you hear it 3 times
Too
a
much.
day.
You go to the grocery store and have to show your ID, yeah. All right, so Mr. Clinton, first question. And
Mr. President.
This is one of the coolest fun facts about you that I didn't know. Why did you get a Coast Guard captain's license? Is this like a rite of passage in Florida? It's like everybody has to get this?
You don't have a lot of, in Florida, there's your outcomes are pretty binary. And
Shrimp boat captain or?
Coast Guard.
Yeah, you're a doctor, you're a lawyer, or you go fishing.
Wow.
There's not a lot of.
Did I get the puns okay at the very beginning?
That was great.
Thank you.
You sounded like
I did my research. Oh yeah, totes a cap.
It was always a high school goal because I didn't know what I wanted to do or wanted to be.
Yeah.
Was that on your caricature?
What is that?
You know when you go to the little caricature artists that make the big heads and they're like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And they draw you as a grown-up. Like I was an astronaut ballerina, even though I'm terrified of outer space. I picture you as a ship captain.
Maybe. It might have been. I don't remember that.
Oh, okay.
It was probably a little more tactical than that, where I just didn't really know if I was going to be a college person or make it in the career world. And
I can see that.
You don't know that when everybody's something different when they're in high school. And so as soon as I turned 18, when I was eligible to do it, I went through and got my license in case other things didn't work out.
It was a practical decision.
It was a practical decision. And it was, it was fun.
Number.
But
So, like, what size of like vessel are you allowed to captain?
it's 100 gross tons, which is effectively like a river barge. That's the lowest level license you can get. Then it goes up from there. It's really restricted based on how many people I can take.
Wow.
So how many people?
It's only 6, and it's for fishing. I mean that you get it so you can be a fishing.
Is it still active?
Wow.
I've got it on hold because now it's gotten a lot harder post 9/11. You have to do fingerprints and all kinds of things that you didn't have to do at the time, and so you have to go to Houston and get fingerprinted. So
Sounds like such a
I just
pain.
have it on hold so that I can renew it if I want to. But
Sick.
So how did you make the decision to go to Vandy? I mean, that's an incredible school. It's very hard to get into. How did you go from, hey, I don't know if I want to do this college thing, to, hey, let's go to the a really hard college?
No, I knew I wanted to do the college thing. You don't know if you're going to get in anywhere, right? And so that was it. Was I think when I started thinking about it, it was okay. I'm going to have this backup plan that I can be a captain if I want to, and have
Of 6 people.
Well, taking more than 6 people fishing sounds like my worst nightmare.
Valid.
So that's
your capacity.
The start
Understood.
of it. That's my capacity. And I knew I wanted to go out of state, and well, I didn't actually at the time. I thought I wanted to stay in state until I started touring around the Southeast. And when I got to Nashville and walked on Vanderbilt's campus, it was kind of game over.
Sold.
Sold.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Great sports, great school, good academics. Figured out from there, and I just loved it. And it turned out to be a great decision.
No, awesome place, great university. So, what happened after Vandy? You graduated, and then what?
I worked for a management consulting company for, well, it turned out to be about 5 years, but with that, you could live anywhere. And so I stayed in Nashville for a year while I figured it out.
Cool.
So this was like work from home before that was a thing. So
Well,
travel
from
gotcha.
home. Yeah, I mean, you're on the road 4 or 5 days a week, and so you had the flexibility. It was a great job as a kid.
Oh, yeah.
Or kid as right out of college, because you got a ton of learning experience, and you could choose where you wanted to live and what you wanted to do. And so I stayed there for a year and then moved to Dallas shortly after that. There was just a better young professional scene. Nashville was not what it is now. You kind of it was college, or it was a small town kind of, and so it made more sense to move and get in that young professional scene, and then stayed another 4 or 5 years in that job, traveling and living in. I had an apartment in each city that I worked in because I was there every week, and then do that for 8 or 10 months, and then go to another one. So I had an apartment in New York, I had an apartment in Salt Lake, and just it was fun. It was a great job as long as you could handle the travel.
Yeah. I bet. So what was the impetus to go to another great school, business school at McCombs?
Texas?
Yeah.
I knew at that point that I was going to stay in Texas, and it seemed to me that there was not a lot of value ascribed to people that had graduate degrees from schools outside of the state. You had a lot better network if you went in state.
That makes sense.
It was the best school in the state, and so it just again made sense. Austin felt a lot like Nashville. It was a great place to go and live for a year and a half, 2 years, and it was really more about just making sure I could build a network here in Texas. And
I think that
of course,
makes
then I
sense.
end up here ultimately, where
That's what I was going to ask you, how you got here.
there's no which it's a meritocracy, which I appreciate the most. It doesn't matter where you went to school or what you did. It's what you're doing now and what you can achieve now, which, so I get asked all the time, do you think your business school degree or undergrad got you where you are? And I mean, there's no way to tell that one way or another. But it ended up this way, so sure. It worked.
Yeah. I love it.
What was the initial goal that you came in trying to accomplish?
I came in to lead our revenue cycle team. At the time, MB2, we had about 84, 85 locations. And so it was much more about, we were just on the basics, doing things out of Excel spreadsheets. And, it was, obviously we were a lot different company back at the time, and it was just getting teams oriented to do the right things. And I happened to, that job that I moved to Dallas for, I led a revenue cycle management consulting team. And so it was all basically, and we would come in, implement technology, teach people how to do the right things. And so it was kind of doing what I had already done for 5 years, and just coming here and doing it in dental. But as Puckett said, it's relatively straightforward.
Yeah.
And then built the team from there to start supporting our practices at the time. And then that branched into other departments and other teams, but it was really oriented around just, we needed somebody who could think and evolve with the business and be agile.
Tell us about some more of those teams. I mean, the one that comes to mind when I talk to potential partners is the payer strategy team, and just like the day one value add that can accrue for a potential partner.
Well, and that's one of your newer teams too.
That is my newest.
Yeah.
And our as a business one of our newest teams that we set up. That was a mix. I think it was a little bit of right place, right time, and a lot of just identifying.
Sorry, continue.
Knocking the drink into
I
the
just needed more
microphone.
caffeine, as you were.
So it was pretty obvious to me when we were starting to do on the rev cycle side that that's pretty easy. You can if you do things right, you get paid. What we at the time though, we were 80, 85, 90 locations. That's not really enough to have bargaining power to get an insurance company to want to work with you and negotiate and anything else. And so for 3-4 years, I would try to negotiate as much as I could off the corner of my desk on an Excel spreadsheet and call who I could call and try to make connections and get some value add. And it worked. I mean, we certainly made some progress on the pricing front, but it wasn't until we hit probably 250 or 300 affiliated locations that the carriers sort of took notice of our size and strength and the differentiation of our model and started to really answer the calls when we put them in.
Right.
And at the same time, it was really an inflection, I think, broader in group dentistry in general, where we also knew that the long-term strength and value of our organization was not just going to be through inorganic growth, through partnering with new locations. It was really going to be, what can we point to the next 5, 10, 15 years down the road with existing partners that we've done to continue to drive organic, same location growth. And really that pricing lever has become very critical to our organization. We're now at 15 folks on the team.
Wow.
One data scientist, built software to support it, and then that now is, depending upon the month and data you're looking at, between 40 and 50% of our organic growth. Our same store
That's
growth
amazing.
is on the pricing side, but it's not just like the easy part to think about is, I just call and tell them they need to pay me more. That's not really what our team does. Our team optimizes insurance participation for practices, and we start by saying, well, what's your goal? Are you booked out too far? Do we need to? How do we help a practice achieve their strategy? And that's really where our team spends all their time. The negotiating side is really the easy part because we've got great clinicians, long-term, good providers. We don't push a clinical agenda in any way. We've got a great value proposition. It's really around how do we support this practice in their needs for how they want to run their business and achieve their goals from a reimbursement perspective and maximizing what they're already doing.
Yeah. Can you speak more about the not pushing a clinical agenda component? Because this isn't this podcast. I'm going to get yelled at by producer Brittany. It's not supposed to be an MB2 advertisement at all. But that's really profound to me. Being a finance guy and not having a background in dentistry, but the insurance companies see the data anyway. Can you help explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, that was kind of another one of those aha moments that we had when we were meeting with some investors, and they said, well, we think the key to long-term value creation in any medical affiliated business is proving that you take cost out of the system instead of introducing cost into the system, because healthcare price inflation is out of control, and we don't want to be part of that problem. And so any business that's going to make it long-term has to find a way to take cost out, or at least prove that they're not putting more into it. And that's exactly, so I went back and said, okay, well, how can we prove that out? And we studied all the utilization practices of all the partners, every office that partnered with MB2. We studied all of their utilization patterns and saw that there was no difference pre and post partnership with MB2 and their makeup of care delivery, which is, that's exactly what you want to see. And we know that it's pretty easy to say, okay, well, if I partner with X group, then they're probably going to add more cost by requiring a certain clinical profile and doing things that we don't. If the patient doesn't need it, the patient doesn't need it. And if we can honestly say that, then it's a much better, it's better for the system and it's better for our partners and helps us a lot.
That research is really interesting because I think, to your point, it can be viewed as an art, but it really is a science. Taking data, evaluating data, looking at the whole of the practice and coming up with a potential solution for them individually versus just the shoving of some sort of agenda or some sort of payer strategy on every single practice.
For sure. I think for us, the most fun, though, is taking all of that data and then turning it into something that, I mean, dentists don't usually go to school for this. They're not finance majors. They're just like we talk about on all the business aspects of everything we do. How do you put it in a digestible format that helps them make the right decision for their practice? And that's really the key for any of our teams at MB2, but especially in Payer Strategy, is taking these numbers that most people don't even understand or know why they should be concerned about it and putting it in a way that's digestible and actionable.
Well, and you had done similar functions in medical prior to coming to MB2. So I can see how that experience translated. How do you feel like your prior leadership experience translated into coming in over one department, then multiple departments, and then building departments?
I came from a family of entrepreneurs, and so there was never this corporate mentality. My dad never sat me down and said, here's how you're going to get your corporate job and make it up the ladder. It was, what are you going to go start? Where are you going to go find an opportunity that hasn't been exploited, and let's figure out how to build a business. I mean, his first company was a bingo hall.
Wow.
Excuse me?
Yeah, bingo.
Oh, that's genius.
Isn't that wild?
Bingo's incredible.
Yeah.
It's so much fun.
Bingo
It's
is
simple.
incredible.
I like
But
to think
they
that he
have
didn't have
halls?
a background in bingo, but just kind of found an opportunity.
Yes, like most entrepreneurs.
Yeah,
How cool.
Yeah, but so that's kind of, I think leadership is tough to talk about, and like you can't go read a book, and I mean there are books, of course, about it, but I think it's really
Go find your style.
It's go find your style, and if people respond to it, then you're doing a good job, and I think a lot of that sort of entrepreneurship mentality is what I look at when we're building or looking at a team is. Okay, well, first, just like with the payer strategy stuff, I'm going to negotiate. I'm going to do this myself for a year or 2 or 3, figure it out, and then I can teach other people to do it, and I have the credibility because I've done this. I know what they're going through. I know what it's like. I know how to help respond, and so I kind of think you have to, in many ways, have done it and have an understanding of it and be able to
Leading from the trenches.
pick it up, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of the folks that we hire on any of our teams have that. If they're not willing to roll up their sleeves and I mean, you've seen that we've been locked in a room for a month on a project right now on the exec team, and we're going to roll up our sleeves and do it. And there was never a question that was how we were going to behave. And I think I expect that of all of our teams. And so from me, that's kind of the leadership side of it. Is if you should never be too good to do it yourself, and you need to be able to lead by doing and lead by example, but really have the subject matter expertise to understand what they're going through to be able to actually lead.
I love it.
I have a core memory of Susan Huff, our chief of staff, during an integration week, shelving patient charts at a practice because she was like, "Where do you need me?" And they were short up front, so she was doing it, and I was like, brand new, and I was like, "Okay, I guess we can do this."
I love it.
Bingo.
Oh, that's awesome. So you've
Bingo.
Boom. Oh my gosh, the girl's always on it.
Okay, as you were.
You've built some incredible teams here, but you've also built some really important special software platforms, right? Can you talk about those and kind of the ones that are the most meaningful to the organization, to you?
Yeah, and again, a lot of that was back to my first 5 years out of college doing that consulting. I mean, we built software and installed it on these weird, janky hospital systems, and because there's nothing else out there that would do it. So if you needed accountability and transparency, you had to
Do it yourself.
do it yourself and make it up and implement it. And that was what we needed here, because in dental, the dollars per claim or per visit or whatever you want to look at are smaller. So that doesn't get the attention of the big players, or they're trying to take something that's medical and then adapt it backwards into dental. And that doesn't work for us. I mean, we figured out that we really, especially on the dental side, needed something that could understand all of the claims data that all of our practices are. That's incredibly valuable data, and we need to be able to do something with it. Yeah. So we built a tool, hired a data scientist that could do some programming, and guided him to get us where we needed to be able to actually analyze our data, market data, open source data, stuff that we've procured, to be able to actually benchmark how we're doing and look at things. I mean, I can tell you your patient retention by insurance carrier, by code.
Wow.
And that matters a lot to a practice that's concerned about retention. And we're in a recurring revenue business. You want your patients to come back the door and be satisfied. And how are we going to measure that, and what are we going to do? And so we built a tool that it's called Nitro, which is another one of my nicknames.
I'm going to write that down.
What's your favorite nickname?
I don't like any of them, but
Stiff
but it's
Shaft
better than
is the new one.
Keebler, which is the most common one.
And just real quick, because I want to get back to that, I just wanted to ask what you did to upset Aster to get this.
Aster has never been happy with me.
I mean, that woman, she seems to always be.
She's
a little
never been
upset,
happy with me.
She wasn't happy with me. It sounds like it must be you.
Yeah.
Producer Aster, sorry.
Yeah.
All right, so going back to the software platforms, tell me about InsideDesk, because great team member Miss Tammy just gave our group kind of a rundown of this, and I've got like a whole page of notes.
Yeah.
And I kind of knew what it was, but I mean, it is like, it's her term, a game changer, and kind of what it's done for our practices and kind of what it's going to continue to do. Can you kind of explain what it is?
InsideDesk is a good example, just like Jarvis, that a vendor company has approached us with a piece of technology that is like one piece of the puzzle that we needed. And InsideDesk was one of those where they came to us and they had built a software that, without getting boring into the weeds, one of the most annoying things about a dental practice anybody listening would know is once you get paid, you get an EOB or an explanation of benefits. And you got to go, and if they didn't give it to you, you got to go get it online, or you got to go find the paper and scan it and put it in the document center and find all that stuff. And it's one of the annoying parts about collecting on what you've already earned, right? What you've already produced.
Yeah.
And they had built a tool that goes and automatically downloads all of your EOBs so that you don't have to do that yourself, which is really cool. But what it didn't have was any workflow associated with it, so to monitor what your teams are doing, how effective they are, what insurance carriers are paying us according to their guidelines or not. All that stuff that you have to run a revenue cycle.
The fun analytics.
And so we basically said, well, this is great, but you need to do this, this, and this. And they responded and built with us a piece of technology that is it's one of those few, and we love anything that does this gets great adoption, is does the office staff complain about using it?
Right.
And if they don't, they're going to use it. And I always say you can bring us a B product that the team likes, and we would buy that all day long over an A product that they hate.
Yeah, that's
interesting.
And now this is not a B product. It's awesome, but it's something that they actually like, so they're going to use it, so we're going to get value out of it. And it's been a huge driver of value for us. In time, it's taken like 40% of the time out of collecting AR, and they're getting better and evolving, and it's been a great platform.
The time savings is unreal, but it's not just time savings; it's the collection rate improves substantially.
Right,
this is like a no-brainer.
Right, and back to the organic growth.
Yeah.
Same store. That's like low-hanging fruit. If you've already billed it and you've already done it and you've already paid the supplies and you've already paid your teams, you just collect it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just collect it.
It seems easy, but it's not.
Right.
Well, and from what Tammy described, it's continuing to evolve, right? There's some things they're trying to layer on top of that. Is there what's in the future? Like what other platforms, or maybe whether it's InsideDesk, is there some other things that are coming, like maybe insurance verification or other things that?
I mean, we're always looking for better tools to do, and that eligibility and patient insurance verification is the number one right now in our playbook. That is still a hole that needs to be filled, and it's yet to be seen exactly how that's going to happen. We're looking at a lot of different things, but that's kind of that's our biggest pain point internally. All of our partner offices, same deal.
Heard it for years, but it's also a hard thing, to your point, to find one product that everybody can adopt.
Right.
Because especially with insurance verification, everybody wants something very specific and customized. And when you're trying to scale something and adopt a large platform, that can be challenging. That was always the problem I saw, was some people loved some vendors and some hated that same vendor.
Sure. I think that's great. That's an awesome part of the MB2 model, though, too, is that we don't need to be married to one vendor.
Right.
Yeah.
We can try a few, and
we can be polyamorous.
And have many, and they're going to like some and use some, and I think it's fun to, and finally dental is starting to catch up to the rest of the healthcare business on the technology side.
Is there something that currently exists in the healthcare side that dental doesn't quite have?
Oh, there's a lot of that. Yeah. But you're also looking at a lot more dollars.
Yeah, totally.
So there's a lot
totally.
more at stake.
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. Like what in 10 years, what do you think, what's going to change in dental from a revenue perspective?
There's a lot of electronic information sharing. I mean, it's kind of silly at this point that I got to go one place to check whether or not this person has coverage and this patient has coverage, and then I got to go here to try and get paid, and I got to go here to see if it's on file, and I got to go here to. That should all just be a simple electronic exchange that just hasn't quite gotten there. It's still a really, really fragmented market, both on the provider level, maybe 20 or 25% consolidated into any kind of group on the dental side, but also even the technologies that everybody's using are pretty fragmented. So it's hard to build something that serves a lot of people.
Yeah.
We touched a little bit on the experience that you had prior to MB2 and how you could leverage that in dental. One of the things that I do think is unique that I don't think you did before MB2 was some of the character play or dress up that you ended up having to do as a leader of our executive team. One key costume being a Cupid.
Yeah.
Is that new for you? Or did you do that before?
No, that was back to this Keebler thing. I'm the smallest guy on the executive team, the shortest guy on the executive team, and so at first it was before it was Keebler. It was, hey, we need a Cupid for our for Valentine's Day.
Just because you're short?
Yeah, I was the most cute,
and he's cute. Yeah. He's great looking. Look at that guy. Beautiful head of hair.
So Dr. V, being Dr. V, dressed me in an adult diaper and pushed me around on
I
a
was there,
mail cart. Yeah, you probably do remember, unfortunately.
I think that may have been how we got introduced.
Roses. Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I forgive you for the trauma.
There's been a few people pushed around in carts, so I think
But like,
Joseph Hildebrand had that happen.
He pointed at you and said, you, and you're like, dope. Like, how did you get...
Well, yeah, I mean, there was a while there where I was the new guy. And you just kind of got to roll with it.
Yeah.
If you're not,
so you no longer have to dress up.
I've passed that torch.
Okay.
I've passed that torch
to the coach. I think he's.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
You said it, not me.
So
how is this a real company?
No, but seriously, can you please tell us the story behind the nickname Stiff Shaft?
No, please don't.
And this is a family show, so
we're talking about golf clubs.
Yes, exactly. God. See, why do you always have to do that?
I'm not the weird one here.
Get your mind out of the gutter. This is a genius story. Please tell us the story. This is new.
Please give us the genius that is this story.
Well, I'm not a storyteller, but I can tell you what happened.
Okay.
So this was about a year ago. Had been working on our exec team had been working on a project that had kind of worn us all out. And one thing that we don't do well, we're a very in-person company, as you know. We don't do a ton of remote work. We're in the office every day, so we're not very good at sneaking out and doing, playing hooky, so to speak. And we decided to do that one day when we were really burned out, but still had a lot going on in the office.
Girl, treat yourself.
Yeah, we snuck out for a little golf day.
Awesome.
And had a pretty largely attended Zoom call going on while we were about to tee off.
And for a very important project. Very, very important.
That's what I heard.
Yeah. And there were, 20, 30 people on the Zoom call. And so I guess I'm talking about that Zoom thing and remote because I forget about the mute button, I guess, from time to time.
Oh, God.
And we'd been great. We had breakfast. We'd done this call. Everything's going really well. And we're about to tee off, and somebody had grabbed my golf bag, who's yet to be named, had grabbed my golf bag, and I had put my phone in the pocket to go and grab sunscreen or teas or something.
And for confirmation, it's not on mute.
And somehow in my pocket, of course, it unmuted.
Oh, is that what happened?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep, AirPods in, unmuted in the pocket, and I walk up to the golf cart. This is, the call's going on, some serious conversation. All of a sudden, I start yelling, no, the stiff shafts are mine.
So I told you it was a great story.
And so that's what interrupts this important call. And
you know anything about Clinton, he has to claim his stiff shafts.
And apparently. And I still didn't know I wasn't muted, and everybody turns, and just stares at me, and I look, and Jeff is running down the hill, waving his arms, saying, "You're not muted." And the banker that was on the call. So, it was like it might have been an hour pause, it felt like, but it was probably a 30-second pause. And I hear, well then, and then just kept going, and our cover was blown.
Well, yeah. Oh, so you did have to admit that you were playing.
No,
You could have gone a different route.
No, we never admitted it.
But that's the hilarious thing is that they never were able to tell these folks that, hey, I'm talking about my golf clubs.
No,
They're still giving Clinton weird looks.
We left him hanging
on Zoom calls.
Yeah.
Oh my word, I'm crying. It's the best. Thank you for that.
Well,
I appreciate it.
I was reminded yesterday of that. It comes up about once a week.
Well, Joe does his research ahead of these things, so all of the dirty little secrets come out.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here, man.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Yeah.
So big golf guy. What else are you into outside of these four walls?
Anything outdoors. I can't sit still. Anything outdoors.
Yeah, Aster called you her little Energizer bunny.
Apparently.
Yes.
Yeah. And anything outdoors, fishing, hunting. But really now getting my kids to realize that if they want to spend a lot of time with dad, they need to do it. And they love it now too.
How old are they?
5 and 7, 6 and 7 now.
Oh, fun.
They're 6 and 7.
So they can like actually hold the
They can hold the fishing rod.
I was like the stick.
Do you have them out like skiing and wakeboarding and stuff?
Yep. So wake surfing. They'll wake surf with me.
Wow.
And it's awesome. It's awesome.
That's
So they're
super
starting to fish. They love it. They get real slimy and it's perfect. It's the best.
Great way for little girls to grow up. I love that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Is there anything that we missed that you wanted to talk about?
I don't think so.
Okay.
It seems like we covered just about everything.
Yeah, let's hope so. Okay, cool.
Well, again, appreciate you being here, man. This is fun.
Happy to do it anytime.
Awesome. Listeners, thank you for joining us for another great episode of the MB2 Underground podcast. Catch you next time.
Anchors away.